So let me go ahead and start the record button. Robert, are we good? I think we're good. So
I see it on Restream. I'm still waiting for the other two.
Okay, perfect. Okay, guys, as you know, the algorithms are really chewing us up. So I need for you guys to share, to tag people, to do everything you can, share the link to expand the classroom. This is how you are part of the growth process. Today, we are talking to one of our favorite teachers in the classroom, Dr. Joel Fuhrman. Since 2015, he's been on every single month, and we celebrate that anniversary every time he comes on because it is very special. So fasten your seatbelt because we're going to learn and grow together. It's time to dance, everyone, except Dr. Fuhrman. He doesn't dance.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friends. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning in to the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, today is always the funnest because we have Dr. Joel Fuhrman. This is where we really get to learn about true empowerment and nutrition. This is like all are welcome to be a part of the nutritarian lifestyle. And that's what I love about it. The flexibility, the commitment, the science, the logic. And behind all of that is Dr. Joel Fuhrman. He is a New York Times bestselling author, and we are giving away 3 of these books. I know you guys love winning things from Dr. Fuhrman. And so today we're getting his latest, and as he said, final book, but I think there's been like 3 after this. But I told him that this was not going to be his last book, but he is a little addicted to making more books, and I know he's going to have more babies. I am here to tell you that. So today we're talking about, with all the stuff that's going out there, and learning how to build our immune system. And we've been talking a lot about that for the last 6 months. Today we're going to talk about the prevention and the reversal of cancer. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, and I'm grateful that Dr. Joel Fuhrman is here to do just that again. Thank you, Dr. Fuhrman. Welcome back.
Great to be here. Thank you.
And so today we are digging back up this book that you said would be your last book. But since then, I seem to recall that you've done the infection protection, you've done the boot camp, and I'm sure that there's going to be something else that's going to come out because, you know, once a teacher, always a teacher.
Those are booklets. Those are
but I still call them a book.
It's a major work. There's much more commitment, you know. So.
Yes, absolutely. And talk about commitment. And Eat for Life is just one of your many books, but it's a New York Times bestseller. I remember you announced it right here in the classroom before you announced it anywhere else, that it's a New York Times bestselling book. And so, Dr. Fuhrman, I know you are very committed to nutrition. It is your lifestyle. You have shared many times what it's like to be a nutritarian, but there are a lot of people who join for the first time. Even though we're being chewed up with algorithms and being hidden, people are finding us, which I think is great. So if somebody was walking in today and they didn't know anything about Dr. Joel Fuhrman, what would you tell them is the most important principles of being a nutritarian?
Well, the primary principle is the most proven methodology to slow aging and prevent cancer, and that is moderate caloric restriction in the context of micronutrient excellence. So by being a nutritarian is all about the definition of what micronutrient excellence means. And that means, of course, getting a high amount, the optimal amount, not excessively high, but the optimal amount of the phytochemicals, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants we need, and also getting the full variety, the complete symphony orchestra of nutrients that humans need. And the wider the variety, the more potential for lifespan expansion. So it's going for nutritional excellence. And I'm also saying that when you achieve nutritional excellence and you have that wide symphony orchestra playing of nutrients, it naturally curtails overeating and makes you most comfortable eating the right amount of calories. So you don't have to artificially, moderately, calorically restrict. You can eat till you're satisfied and you'll automatically, moderately, calorically restrict. So it's the combination of excellent nutrition in a combination with no excess body fat, because excess body fat increases risk of all causes of death. And there's no such thing as a overweight, healthy person. And that means that I want women to have a BMI below 21 and men to have a BMI below 22. 23 is what I use as the demarcation line to accommodate some individuals that may be more muscular or stocky that can still achieve a BMI of 23 and still possibly be healthy. But above that, you're going into a danger zone. And also we're talking about fat percentages too, that a woman's fat percent should be ideally below 22.5% body fat, and a man's body fat should be below 15% body fat. Wow. So it's achieving excellent nutritional intake with the right, most powerful portfolio of anti-cancer foods while you don't overeat calories simultaneously.
That's right. That's right. And if you haven't had your G-bombs today, you will want to do so after the classroom. So G-bombs are greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, seeds, and nuts. But that's the G-bombs. And so that is the combination that reminds you that that's the step towards being a nutritarian, being healthy, and keeping an eye on what you are taking in, that rainbow, that symphony that Dr. Fuhrman is talking about. So Dr. Fuhrman, I didn't say this to you before we went live, but my mom fell 3 times. My mom has advanced dementia. And as a result of her fall, she fractured her L3, which is her lumbar spine. And they just yesterday did procedure on her to put cement in her spine, caloplasty or something like that. So I was by her side. And as I was with her, it just, first of all, the pain that she was under, and then the procedure and all of that. And she's overweight. She has diabetes. So all this, and I just looked at my mom and I just absolutely adore my parents. And as I looked at my mom, I thought, they set themselves up well for their finances. They set themselves up well for, their life. My dad is a self-made man. He's done so many things. But what they didn't set themselves up for was a healthy retirement, a healthy getting older, having to deal with all these illnesses. Now, granted, my mom is 86, my dad is almost 90. And one would say that's a miracle right there. But can you talk to us about establishing that future where we value health just as much as we value our finances?
Well, yes, that's my, of course, message and mission. And, I've been saying all along, especially in my television shows on PBS, that what good is being financially okay if you don't have your health? You can't enjoy your life if you don't have your health. That's the foundation of your good life. And also, food doesn't taste that good once you're in the coffin. But we know that in America, we have the worst healthy life expectancy of almost any modern country. And all the other modern industrialized countries have very poor healthy life expectancy scores, meaning that the quality of people's lives over the age of 70 is very, very poor. So should they even live to be 80 or 90 years old, their quality of life in those last 10 or 20 years is very poor, not even worth living in many cases. And if you're living in a nursing home, or you're demented, what good is your life? Or you have on dialysis, your life is sometimes better off being dead. And the nutritarian diet, of course, is absolutely unique. There's nothing like it in adding the amount of years that's possible, or adding an extra maybe 30 years, 20 or 30 years to people's lifespan, but also adding 40 years or adding a huge amount of years to their play span, to their, and keeping your mental and physical faculties till the end of your life or near the end of your life. Yeah. And most people pass away, everything they've earned in their whole life, they've really passed away almost penniless, because all the money they've earned goes to pay for their medical expenses in the last year or last few years of their life and hospital bills. And so they work all their life to die and to pay their hospital bills, which is really crazy, because that they're not benefiting from that from dying in the hospital, from those extraordinary efforts, being in an ICU or being intubated or being kept on life support or being tortured. Essentially, people die being tortured to keep them alive for a little bit longer, so the hospital can make another $500,000 off of you. So it's absolutely insane what people do. And I'm, of course, giving a much different message, because I'm saying right now that the standard American diet causes cancer, dementia, and heart disease and strokes, and mental illness too. That the American diet is exceedingly dangerous, and it's full of all kinds of addictive substances that take over people. It's mind control that put people in a prison where they think they have to eat that way now, that they've been eating that way for so long. And the foods are designed to hook people. They get hooked with this way of eating, and it tortures them in their later years. And I'm saying, when you destroy your body in the first half of your life with the American diet, without significant nutrient load, with all those toxic materials, and your body is now becoming more and more diseased every day you're alive, then moderate changes are not sufficient to undo that. You need nothing short of excellence, because you've built up toxic metals, toxic metabolites, broken DNA crosslinks, methylation defects in your DNA, a lot of reactive oxygen species causing tissue damage, endocrine and hormonal imbalances. There's so much wrong with the body. So it takes time to undo that damage, and the damage can't be undone and have people have the opportunity to live a healthy life in their later years, unless they're willing to really invest in eating a diet of nutritional excellence to not just contain nutrients, but to undo that damage that they've already accumulated.
Yes. Okay. And so a lot of people are hearing you say this, and I guess because we've picked up some ever since COVID, and I don't like even saying that word, but because we get flagged, but ever since that happened, people are waking up. People are waking up to, let's build our immune system. Let's take our health back, because you're talking about this lulling, this mind control that we have to eat a certain way. We've also believed that we inherit our DNA, and that DNA decides if we get cancer or diabetes. And I always say it's the family recipes, guys. It's the family recipes that you inherit. And so with that in mind, let's talk about how the nutritarian lifestyle helps change this DNA, helps turn it off.
That's right. We know that certain foods, and we're talking here about G-bombs, greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds, but green cruciferous vegetables probably have the most power to suppress DNA alterations that would normally have led to cancer in a poorly nourished individual. What I'm saying right now is that these gene defects, we all have different genetic codes, and some codes are more prone to cancer than others. Nevertheless, those ability to code for proteins that are unfavorable only happen in people who eat poorly, because a healthy diet suppresses those areas of the DNA that are not 100% normal. So your body has the ability to control the DNA that's expressed and only express favorable DNA, but it can only do that when you eat these foods, especially green vegetables. I always say to people, if you don't like green vegetables, you better live close to a hospital. It's kind of like a joke, because a hospital's not going to help you anyway. And the other thing is that these green vegetable substances that suppress cancer and prevent genetic alterations and help demethylate DNA are heat sensitive. You can't even get them from cooked vegetables much. In other words, what I'm saying right now is that you have to eat a lot of raw vegetables, green raw vegetables. And because you're eating like raw baby kale or mustard greens or raw arugula or baby bok choy or whatever you're eating in your salad, your amount of anti-cancer nourishment you get from that is dependent on how well you chew it. So not only do people not eat those foods, but they also, when they eat a salad, maybe swallow 90% of it without breaking open the cell wall. That housed in the cell wall are these enzymes that catalyze a chemical reaction in your mouth, forming these anti-cancer compounds that are only formed if from that cell if you break it open. So how well you can chew that and whether you can liquefy that in your mouth depends on how many anti-cancer nutrients are formed. So, I say the salad is the main dish. It should be the main dish, and lunch is the most important meal of the day. And if you're having your big salad at lunch, which I just had a big salad for lunch, and I took so much time to eat it and to chew it, and it had cooked mushrooms in it, had some chickpeas in it, had tomatoes and red onion and scallion and bok choy and watercress and lettuces, and it had a lot of stuff in it. But boy, it was filling. I could hardly eat anything else after the salad was over. It was like my whole meal. But the point I'm making is that it takes a long time to eat it and chew it really well, because you got to really chew every mouthful to a liquid. So it takes you half an hour to eat a salad of that size. And that's not what a lot of people aren't willing to do that. So then they're not willing to not have cancer. If they're not willing to eat a big salad and chew it really well, then they would prefer to get cancer, the way I see it. What I'm saying is you have to learn what you have to do, and you have to do it. You don't get something for nothing in this life. You don't get, if you want something that has major power and major positive effects, you have to put a major effort into it. And people want things without effort. They want a pill so they can smoke 3 packs a day and not get lung cancer, or a pill so they can eat hot dogs and burgers and bacon and donuts and bagels and not get breast cancer. But that's fairy tale thinking. It's not real life. In real life, if you want not to get those things, you have to earn it through healthful living. And it takes a huge effort of healthful living to achieve that, especially when we've been socialized with all things that are so hurtful. And the so-called normal diet is so disease-causing, obesity-causing, mental illness-causing, and our social structure leads to a lot of narcissism and competitiveness. So we have a whole basic structure that leads to cancer, and we have to change it. You got to really learn a lot and apply a lot of these principles.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, because I guess I need to tell you guys that 3 people are going to win Dr. Joel Fuhrman's New York Times bestseller, Eat for Life. So this is what you need to do, because this is where we take 100% responsibility. We're going to claim that you want to take your health back, that you want to reverse disease, that you want to prevent cancer. So just say, I'm claiming it. And then you need to text me at 407-373-5959. This is a 2-step process. And I'm going to wait till Monday this time, because I just found out we were having some issues with podcasts. So for those of you who weren't able to download iTunes, we're all good to go. I'm so grateful to all my podcasters that love the classroom and are sharing this information out there. So I'm waiting till Monday, because they're going to be downloading like 2 weeks worth of shows of classes. And so I'm going to wait till Monday. So below, wherever you're watching, you need to claim it that you want it, and then text me 407-373-5959. And then we're going to pick 3 names on Monday. 3 names. Your name's going to go in the winner's basket, and then 3 names will be picked from that. So 407-373-5959. And we have questions. We'll get to your questions in a little bit, so be patient with us. So Dr. Fuhrman, with that in mind, this is great news. This is great news, because if we think about it, if we create our disease, we can uncreate it with, fixing. So we're having some questions here about, what about dementia? What about this? What about candida? What about all these questions about what about? But when we eat a nutritarian lifestyle, we get everything we need. So how does a nutritarian lifestyle, how is it different for prevention versus reversal? Is it different, or do you have to do something different, or eat more of this or eat more of that? Or is it all the way across the board the same way, both ways?
It's very, very similar. I mean, if a person has an early stage cancer, we might get a little bit more aggressive and might be utilizing vegetable juicing, that maybe the juicing, the chewing of the salad. The difference is, let's say, over years of eating the way I eat and the way other people eat a nutritarian diet, the level of their tissues of nutrients is very high. But a person just starting out this way could take a year of eating right to get their tissue penetration of nutrients where mine is from eating this way for 50 years, let's say. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to wait for a year to build up their level of nutrients to be as good as mine. We want it to get up there as quick as they can. They've got cancer going on or some autoimmune process.
Got it.
So the difference may be adding something like juicing to increase the absorption and utilization of those nutrients to bring their levels of tissue nutrients up greater. Maybe I'll use a little more supplements with mushroom extracts, turmeric and green tea and astragalus and beta-glucan. Maybe I'll use some of those supplements, but mostly the difference is the inclusion of maybe this 3-part juice, which I call 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, which has 1/3 lettuce juice, 1/3 carrot and beet, and 1/3 green cruciferous, such as bok choy or cabbage or kale. So we're trying to bring the levels of nutrients up faster. And sometimes I'll do that as well with a person with lupus or psoriasis or autoimmune disease or rheumatoid arthritis, because I want to accelerate the rate at which the tissues get full of these nutrients to bring them up to, because we measure the nutrients, let's say in a scanner on your hand, and mine might be 100,000 and a person starting the diet may be 25 or 30,000. And then in 3 months or 4 months, it's great if they can be up to 60,000. We don't want them to linger there and be at 30 to 40 for months and months. We want to get them up as fast as we can. So chewing is better too. The other thing we do is obviously we make the soups and we use the green vegetables and the onion and the scallion, the leek in the soup, and we puree them while they're still raw. We make the pureed green cruciferous pureed to a smoothie type consistency and then poured into the soup. So it activates the chemical reaction in the blender. We do the same thing with the leek and the onion family and the scallion. We clear it in the same dirty blender, but not mixed with the greens together. Mm-hmm. And then we're utilizing that in some of our cooked vegetable dishes to use pureed onion. And I didn't mention that that very important ingredient is, of course, is scallion, is eating scallions raw in your salad with very, very powerful benefits. So it might be a little more aggressive supplementally. Also, the nuts and seeds that we recommend, we try to go for a 50-50 ratio of high omega-3 nuts and seeds to high omega-6 nuts and seeds. So we try to use the trifecta of seeds and nuts, which is like the hemp seed with flax or chia, and then the hemp seed with the flax and chia as being the seed, and then the walnut as being the most favorable nut. The combination of the walnut and the hemp, because they're high in omega-3, and the flax and chia, which contain lignans, which are high in omega-3, those combination of those 4 foods should be go for almost half of your nut intake. So if I'm making a dressing with like cashew nuts or pecans, I put half hemp seeds and half cashews, or half hemp seeds and half whatever it is I'm using, pecans, because I want that omega-3 balance and I want the extra benefit of those super nuts. We see more anti-cancer benefits from walnuts and the omega-3 nuts. And also keep in mind that we're not restricting the omega-6 nuts at all. We're just restricting calories. So if we're overweight, we're gradually losing weight, which means we're not only burning off the excess omega-3 for energy, but we're also burning some extra omega-6 from the body stores as well. When we're thin and we're eating nuts, we're maintaining the omega-3 we are getting from the nuts and seeds for our membrane purposes, and we're burning off the excess omega-6 we don't need, so it keeps at least that 5% for the omega-3 index on the balance, and then we give people a little bit of DHA, preformed DHA, from a vegan source. The one we distribute we keep refrigerated to keep it fresher, because we're looking to have the right level of nutrients in the tissues that don't just protect against dementia, but also, and heart disease, but also protect against cancer. So all these things aid in the stabilization of the heart with aging, preventing of cardiac arrhythmia, prevention of brain shrinkage, and that leads to, of course, cognitive impairment and then dementia.
Okay, so with the DHA, I can just hear everybody typing. How much? What is the combination that you look for with DHA when it comes to, what is? You said it needs to be refrigerated, so obviously it's liquid form.
No, I
And
said
so-
that the one we make is refrigerated. The
Yeah.
one we distribute, it's made by the same. Most of the vegan DHA is made by the same company. There's only a few companies in the world that make it. So most of the different competitors selling the same product is the same thing. The major difference between the one I distribute and other brands is that they're kept at room temperature in a health food store on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
So you could develop some possibility of rancidity the longer it's sat from the time it was manufactured. So then the date of manufacturing becomes more important. Is this 6 months old? Is this product 12 months old? Or is it just made last month?
Yeah.
It was made last month, and then it's probably almost as good as mine because it's probably fresher. But we take ours and we have it packed in glass and shipped to us in refrigerated trucks. So when people order it, they're getting a fresh refrigerated product.
Very
Not something that's
good.
a year.
Very
year
good.
old.
And
But
you
in
guys
any
can go.
case, we're-
Go ahead.
no,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was just going to say that you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com as well, and you can click on the Shop Now bag, and you can check out Dr. Fuhrman's supplements too. So go ahead, Dr. Fuhrman. So you were talking about the DHA and the importance of,
Yeah, I was saying that
knowing the born on date.
Right, you see better effects against cancer with the we know all the major studies showing walnuts and nuts reduce cardiovascular death, irregular heartbeat, and lower overall mortality, increase for lifespan, and all different types of dietary patterns. But what I'm saying right now is that walnuts and these omega-3 nuts even have a higher link to their anti-cancer effects, even than the general nuts do. So we become more protective of the fact that we're taking in those omega-3 nuts. At the same time, what I'm saying, even though the omega-3 index being greater than 5 on your membranes is protective against brain shrinkage, we also see it has some importance for immune function and anti-cancer benefits as well. So what the people that are asking, the same dietary protocols and portfolios that prevent against dementia also prevent against cancer. It's the same factors, not one for, there's no trade-off there. They're the same factors benefit almost every, protected from every disease.
Yeah. And so for those of you that want to learn more about Nutritarian, you can, of course, go to drfuhrman.com. But Dr. Fuhrman has been in the classroom since 2015. We've had so many different conversations. Even one of my funnest conversation was during Christmas time when Dr. Fuhrman was stuck in traffic. And we got to ride in the car with Dr. Fuhrman while he was getting ready to come onto the classroom. Well, check them all out. You can find them at whenyouneedafriend.com. You can also, while you're there, like and follow and do all the stuff that you need to do to stay connected, because we don't know how long we have this platform. We're very grateful for the platform that we have today. But if anything were to happen, I want you also to like me on BitChute. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, all these other places that you can follow me as well. But while you're there, I want you to go to my sponsors page and figure out different ways that you can support my sponsors, like they're supporting the classroom right there. All my sponsors, like Keep Me Safe Organics, First Alternative Care, the Pharmacy in Merritt Island, Live Longer Medical, and of course my affiliate programs such as Ground Therapy, Brain Tap, and First Alternative Therapies, which is Avasia, was what I use to manage pain. And so please figure out ways to support my sponsors the way that they're supporting the classroom. And last but not least, you too can become an enrolled student in the classroom. Because of these times are difficult, I'm relying on the generosity of you who is enjoying these wonderful teachers for free. So if you can help out your time, your talent, your treasure, what's $1 or $1,000 a month, please help make a donation to the classroom and become an enrolled student. So today we're talking to Dr. Joel Fuhrman. We are giving 3 of these books away. Dr. Joel Fuhrman's Eat for Life, his final book, wink, wink. It's his final book that he has collaborated, that he has, it's a New York Times bestseller. 3 of you. So start claiming it. It's a 2-step process. Even if you claim it in the comment section on Facebook or you text me at 407-373-5959. That's the final thing. People who text me, those are the ones that are going to get you. You do the writing it and declaring it, and then you text me 407-373-5959. On Monday, we will pick 3. Oh, I almost said 5, but 3. 3. And it needs to be people in the United States, Dr. Fuhrman, or can it be worldwide? Can everybody participate in this?
I don't know how we could get it out worldwide. I think it has to be in
United States. So we will limit it to the people in the United States. So that I just want to make sure that if somebody is trying to get this book and they're in another country, I just want to be fair that you know ahead of time that this is for people in the United States. So Dr. Fuhrman, what else do we need to know about cancer prevention and reverse? Well, let's talk about prevention.
Yeah, this is cancer prevention and cancer reversal are the same things, of course. It's just we're trying to avoid things that not only take in the right substances, but also avoid things that could potentiate or interfere with your body being able to repair itself and move toxic elements. And some important things are the exclusion of products that have a high glycemic load that can reduce your ability to fight cancer. And also we're talking about the avoidance of things that are toxic or carcinogenic, such as brown rice and sardines. I'm saying brown rice and sardines because people see that as being super health food, they eat a diet, and rice is vegan, it's healthy. And we know that almost all the brown rice that's available in this country and most of the modern world is contaminated with arsenic. And what I'm amazed at, because I draw blood levels on people regularly, almost every week, and I'm just amazed at the arsenic levels in people's bloodstream, how high their arsenic levels are. There's so many people, I haven't even, hardly find anybody that isn't high, that isn't at least up there halfway up, and then most people are all the way up at the top. But so we're avoiding those things. And we used to think that, eating some small amounts of fish, the smaller fish that are not as toxic as the larger predatory fish that are full of mercury and the toxic metals. But we're finding that because of the dumping of plastic in the oceans of billions of pounds every day, now that there's microplastic particles, even in small fish that are caught near the coastlines, and you're getting plastic in your body when you're eating smaller fish, crustaceans, and shellfish, and the plastic in your body is a carcinogen as well. So it really, more than ever before in these recent years, I've actually stressed more the importance of eating organic and controlling the soil in which things are grown and trying to eat more cleaner, a diet with a cleaner origin of the food, because we have such widespread pollution of our environment, destruction of the planet. And as people know, we're committing slow suicide with the food we eat, and we're also committing slow suicide for our Mother Earth to wipe out humans as species on this planet as we socially and politically allow our planet to be destroyed for the future generations. And they both go hand in hand, because the cleaner we keep our environment, the less pollution, the less dumping, the less using of petrochemicals, obviously, the more we create the right environment for growing healthy food and for growing clean food and to having a longer life. So everything works together, and when our health is not separate from our planetary health. Yes. So we get to a point where people get sick if they live in polluted areas. It's unfortunate, but you can't escape the reality of life. And that is, you have to put clean and healthy things in your body, and you pay a price. You can't escape from the biological laws of cause and effect. When you abuse it, it gets sick. Yeah. And when you poison it, it gets sick. And people want to believe this nonsense that a healthier diet is not any better than an unhealthy diet, or a diet that's not as healthy is just as good as a diet that's healthier. And that's just fairy tale thinking.
Absolutely.
It's fairy tale thinking, and you got to go for excellence here, and to strive to do the best you can. Absolutely. And then you enjoy eating more, because you're actually emotionally better attached to the food. Your taste buds adapted to it. You learn the great recipes, but intellectually, you're more content with eating things that are good for you, that make you feel good, that intellectually are good for you too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's where also being connected to the soil and planting and assuring that you're eating some food that's clean, that you were actually involved in prepping and maintaining clean soil where the food was grown, including growing your own sprouts and things like that, also plays a role in health as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and I know that your garden at the Eat to Live Retreat Center is to live for. I absolutely loved taking some of just eating from your garden. It was just so much fun. It was like an out of body experience. And I want to encourage all of you, let them know that you heard about it in the classroom. Let them know that Lily sent you to the Eat to Live. I know so many people that's part of their wish list, but we need to stop wishing and make it happen. We need to take our health back. I know that many of you have questions. Dr. Fuhrman, before we start taking some questions, is there anything that you would like to maybe add that people don't they just need to get it in their head that we can, it's not just about the food. We've talked about that there's an emotional component to it as well. And just recently, you and I have had these conversations in the classroom. So, people say, oh, I eat pristine, I eat perfect. But then there's still an emotional component that you've recently, you've tapped into for a while, but we've talked a lot about it just recently in the classroom, the emotional component to healing. Would you like to share about that?
Yes, the emotional component to healing, but also the emotional component to overeating. Mm-hmm. And that if people don't have if they're not mindful and they're not, we're talking today about the mindfulness of chewing to a liquid in your mouth, the food that you're eating, and knowing that you actually have gratitude and appreciation of what you're eating, because the life-giving substances that the food contains, and you also had the skills in preparing it to make it taste good too. And so it's giving you this bounty of nourishment that's going to protect you. That's real protection. But in any case, people always do the opposite. They're saying, oh, I just want to eat my junk food. I'd rather be dead. Shoot me right now if I have to eat carrots.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm going to eat my pizza. But of course, mindfulness involves not only eating the right food, but appreciate the fact that you're eating the right food. And we're having gratitude for having that food. And it's the health, and eating healthfully is like a the fact that we can eat healthfully is a blessing. A lot of people don't even have the opportunity to eat healthy food. They can't even get the food. Yeah. And where are you going to Burger King or Pizza Hut? Is that a joke? Oh no, it's Pizza King or Burger Hut. I don't know, whatever it is. Wherever it is, we're going.
I was just gonna let it go. Jabba the Hutt, that's what it is.
But wherever it is we're going, that people, they're like, they don't really realize the unique blessing, the unique opportunity we have in many areas of America. We can get frozen wild blueberries and frozen cherries, and we can eat baby green vegetables and fresh salad in the wintertime and shipped in foods that are organic, that we have this access to food. So while we have this opportunity to healthy diet, we're choosing not to. And a lot of people can't even get those foods available to us. And these people don't even have them right in their neighborhood. And they're not even appreciative of the fact that they have this opportunity to protect their precious health.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything else before I start getting questions from what they've asked? Is there anything else that you would like to share about, awareness?
My excitement in the finishing of my latest book, Eat for Life, of course, is the fact that it's living. It lives because there are thousands of individuals whose lives have been changed, many thousands, but I've highlighted maybe 20 of those individuals in the book.
Beautiful.
And when you have real people with real stories to tell and how their lives have been saved from multiple sclerosis, lupus, psoriasis, cancer, asthma, heart disease, we're talking about people on their deathbeds practically, we're able to regain their health. So the message is always that, don't underestimate the miraculous self-reparative and self-healing properties of the body when you establish that optimal environment for healing. And the body can do all the repair work itself, whereas people are into this narrow way of thinking that they're a sickly person and they're going to take some drug that's going to fix or repair them. Yet that's really not the way the body works. You can't take a toxic body that you've destroyed it for 20 years, you've abused it, and then this magic pill is going to fix it.
One size
Excuse me.
does not fit all. One size does not fit all. And I think that, it's that fairy tale, like believing in Santa Claus. I don't know if we have any little listening ears today, but if we're not asking for that, this is science. And if people will believe something as nonsensical that one pill can cure all. It doesn't matter what size you are, what condition you have, that one pill. But the like when you were talking about the food, you were talking about a symphony, and it just lightens your soul. I have a really a cousin of mine that she started with the juice cleanse that we did just recently, and it's so nice to hear her transformation. She continues to eat well. She has your books, Dr. Fuhrman, and she continues to, now she's going to do another juice cleanse because she knows that this is now, she is turned on to food. What a wonderful blessing to be able to have that much love for self, that she's going to love herself through food. It just makes my heart so happy. And I want to challenge all of you who are watching today that have made that commitment in the past. And this time, I really want you to not just declare it below in the comment section. I want you to also text me at 407-373-5959. We're giving away 3 books. Yes, 3 books. And it's the best-selling book of Dr. Fuhrman's last book, Eat for Life. And this is all like remember Eat to Live? This is Eat to Live on steroids. So these are all the years of experience after he wrote that book put together, plus the stories of people that will motivate you that if they can do it. I know Emily Bowler's such a friend of the classroom. She's one of the examples that is here in the book, and I just absolutely adore her and her story of releasing over 100 pounds. And she was going through a lot of stuff in her life at that time, and she is an inspiration to so many. So that's what I want to challenge you today. I want you to find your purpose. Use food as purpose, not poison. And so that is what I want to challenge you today as. So Dr. Fuhrman, if you allow me, I will start some of the questions because I know so many people, they just don't know how to start. They don't know what to do. And so many people are saying, eat keto, eat paleo, eat only meats and eat only, and people get confused because there's so much information out there and they just put their hands up in the air and they go, I'll just use what the government recommends, the standard American diet. And that is so sad.
You just have to read the book then.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And by the way, Emily's not in this book.
Oh, she's not.
No, she was in other books. I don't want to have the same cases in every book. She's a big, she was a big part of the End of Dieting book. Her whole story and some of her messaging is in the book, The End of Dieting.
Yes, that's right. It's been a while, Dr. Fuhrman. Thank you for the refresher. I'm glad you clarified that. But, Emily is a friend of the classroom and we love her story and we love her honesty because even though she has been able to release, we all fall short sometimes. And where we want to be is that excellence, that excellence, that optimal health that Dr. Fuhrman always talks about. So Dr. Fuhrman, last month, because the people that don't get their questions asked, I ask them first, and we didn't ask one, and it was from Sharon, and she said, I've been a follower of Dr. Fuhrman for many years, and I'm wondering if you can ask him about Candida yeast overgrowth with histamine intolerance next time you interview him. I don't seem to do well with beans. And I love how you solve this problem, Dr. Fuhrman, while going through this. So she goes, and does it mean you have to cut out fruits and grains completely? Everyone has something different to say about it. So apparently beans don't agree with her. And so what is your idea of yeast overgrowth, Candida yeast overgrowth with the histamine intolerance in beans and grains?
Well, number one, it's almost impossible to have yeast overgrowth when you're eating this healthfully, because the main reason you have yeast overgrowth, a person has yeast overgrowth, is because their immune system is weak in some way. So it's immunosuppression. And the foods that promote yeast overgrowth are high glycemic carbohydrates, particularly white rice and white potato and sugar and honey and maple syrup and those sweets, which also promote heart attacks and strokes and cancer and dementia. So high glycemic carbohydrates are negative, but it's the overall dietary portfolio. In other words, even fruit, because of its fiber and high in vitamin C, suppresses growth of yeast to a degree and keeps things moving through you. And eating beans, of course, which help you grow the healthy bacteria, you have the growth of healthy bacteria, which crowd out yeast forms. So it's almost never the case. And also, so we're talking about yeast growth in the digestive tract. It's never the case that people have systemic yeast forms in their bloodstream unless they have cancer or AIDS or some serious illness, because again, the immune system, a healthy immune system, prevents that type of overgrowth. People can be allergic to yeast, but they're not going to have yeast overgrowth. So a lot of people think they have candida, don't. A small amount of yeast might be normal in certain stool, but a large overgrowth of yeast is very unusual. And usually people who think they have that are given that diagnosis incorrectly. There are people that are histamine intolerant, but the major histamine releasing foods are cheeses and wines and processed foods, not fresh fruits and vegetables. There are very few high histamine relating foods in the natural food. We do give a low histamine diet with people with idiopathic urticaria, like Joe Cross had, but he didn't even have to restrict histamine foods. He just had to eat the diet, and his histamine levels repaired themselves with time. So that also is very, very unusual that a person would be eating healthfully for a prolonged period of time and still be histamine intolerant when they weren't eating processed foods. But I do have available a low histamine diet for those people with that
Right.
rare disease that benefit from that. They, not eating pineapple, not eating, so much vinegar, and then they're just tweaking their diet a little bit.
Yeah. Love
And
that.
except for people with a bean allergy, some people don't digest beans well, which means beans have to be well cooked.
Yeah.
And except for peas and split peas and mung beans, the larger beans all get easier to digest. And they do have some toxic materials in them when they don't cook them to be soft enough. So it's number one, cooking them at least 2 hours. If you don't have a pressure cooker or an Instant Pot, cook it at least 2 hours in a regular soup method of cooking. So make sure you don't eat beans that aren't soft. And start with eating serving of beans at least 2 meals of every day, even if it's only a teaspoon of beans or a tablespoon of beans. Start with a teaspoon at 2 times a day, and then go to a tablespoon, because even people who think they're intolerant to beans, who don't digest it well, can handle small amounts of well-cooked and well-chewed beans, well-chewed and well-cooked. And over time, the body will start to build up the healthy bacteria, suppress unfavorable organisms like yeast, and develop more beneficial bacteria that will help digest more beans, and they can increase the beans more gradually. So I think with time, all of Sharon's issues should take care of themselves, but she may have to make some changes more gradually.
Yeah. And you know what? You did that. Robert, my husband, he had issues with onions. He could not tolerate raw onions. And that's the same thing you asked him to do. Start with a little bit, chop them really tiny, and start with a little bit and increase. Now he has so much onions, and it's so nice to see how we can bring our body back to health, and our body will respond accordingly.
The body adapts with time, because you digest better what you get used to eating regularly. And of course, you digest better what's well chewed or well cooked too.
Yeah,
Some things have to be well cooked.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so from Michelle, she wants to know, how do you get a sluggish liver back to health, and also a sluggish stomach?
There's no methodology that makes your liver, your kidney, your eyes, your nose, your heart function better. How do you get your heart back to health? How do you get your liver back to health? There's no one diet or one nutrient that directs itself to one part of the body. The question represents a degree of a fallacy, that is because the same best nutrients are best for almost all the cells in your body. What's best for your macular degeneration and diabetic retinopathy is best for your fatty liver too. And there's no such thing as a sluggish liver. It's just a term that's not true. What does that mean, a sluggish liver? So what I'm saying is that you could have fatty infiltration of the liver, as demonstrated on an ultrasound test. You could have abnormal liver function tests, which doesn't mean your liver is sluggish. It means your liver is poisoned. there's some damage to the liver that's actually destruction of the liver, causing the liver function test to elevate. So anyway, what I'm saying right now is this process that we're describing of nutritional excellence heals all the cells in your body simultaneously. The best way to fix your liver is to fix your heart. The best way to fix your kidney is to fix your heart, and the best way to fix your heart is to fix your kidney and liver. All the organs heal together. They're all interconnected, and our brain is also interconnected. So there's not one, it's not organ specific.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So I'm switching to YouTube now. We have lots of questions here as well. Navacho says, or Richie says, lab studies of testing the power of certain substances such as garlic, turmeric, spinach, etc. I missed it. On cancer cells. What do you think about such studies and their value on practical therapeutic levels?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question 100%. I mean, these studies create hypotheses and probabilities, but they're not definitive. It's like people show they can go on a diet of just, eggs and bacon and their cholesterol goes down, they lose weight. Does that make it good? No, we have to corroborate that with long-term studies, looking at people eating that diet for decades and seeing how long they live and looking at hard endpoints like death. We accumulate evidence from multiple areas and we put all the evidence together. And the more evidence we have that accumulates, the more definitive we can say we have the sciences demonstrate that. So the same thing with short-term, even double-blinded controlled trials are not the absolute indicator of what's healthy, because they could be looking at soft endpoints like you lost weight, your sugar went down, your cholesterol improved, and we don't know if that translates into a longer lifespan and lower heart attacks or lower cancer rates. That gives us a hypothesis. It gives us a certain probability, just like looking at these cell culture studies show. But then we can say, okay, now if we looked at a population that ate spinach and took turmeric and we followed them for 2 decades and we saw they lived longer, that would be more, or we saw those people did better or at least a 10-year study on people who have cancer and seeing if we have more people who live longer with their cancer and people given that food over 10 years. And the answer is, it's amazing how much studies that have been done today on food patterns and on individual foods, where we have cell studies, short-term studies, and long-term studies that gives us that trifecta of collaborative evidence.
Very good. Very good. Okay, real quick, I just want to get as many questions as possible. Mona asks, my 30-year-old niece has breast cancer 8 years ago, got breast cancer 8 years ago. Today, she has neck aches, fatigue, headaches. What do you suggest for her?
If she had breast cancer so young, the type of breast cancer that you get when you're that young is quite aggressive, which means she got chemotherapy for it. So the chemotherapy causes long-term damage to the body. It doesn't also kill 100% of cancer cells. 1 out of 1 million cells or 1 out of 100,000 cells escape the chemo. So she most likely still has cancer cells in her body that could come back and kill her at some point. So, and she also has that, and when they come back, 10 years later, 20 years later, then the cells that reaccumulate into a new cancer are more resistant to chemo because they were the ones that escaped the chemo the first time. Nevertheless, what I'm saying is now's the time for her to adopt this anti-cancer dietary portfolio, an anti-cancer program, because before the body accumulates a large mass of cancer, when you have scattered cancer cells, is when the body has when the immune system has the most ability to ferret out, find, and destroy those individual cells. So her lifespan and her general health is now completely dependent on what she does now after her treatment. Yeah. And the fact that number one, to retard the damage from the chemotherapy to normal cells, and 2, to kill any stray cells that could have escaped chemotherapy. She must follow this program if she took chemo at the early age from advanced cancer. Otherwise, her life's going to be cut short.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to encourage you to tell your niece to text me at 407-373-5959 so she can claim this book and claim her health back. Okay, Dr. Fuhrman, I think you discussed this already, but if there's anything you want to add, Isela Jim, she wants to know what you recommend to prevent Alzheimer's, but you've already talked about that. Do you want to add anything else to it?
No, I think that I've tried to explain that the same dietary portfolio that prevents cancer prevents dementia, and there's nothing additional that doesn't work to prevent cancer that doesn't work to prevent Alzheimer's. They both work hand in hand. If it's good for one, it's good for the other.
Mhm.
And we're talking here the combination of get rid of the excess calories, get rid of the animal proteins, and by the way, we want a diet that's adequate in protein here. We have to have diet. We want to eat foods that have a high amount or an adequate amount of plant proteins to substitute for and to take the place of the animal proteins removing from the diet and the animal fats. So it has to be a well-designed plant-based diet, which I call a nutritarian diet, because a nutritarian diet focuses on the foods that to make sure you're including them that have the most definitive and studied and proven anti-cancer and anti-dementia effects.
Absolutely. And diabetes, people that get diabetes, there's a correlation between diabetes and Alzheimer's as well, right, Dr. Fuhrman?
Right. And we also pay attention to micronutrients, to supplementing conservatively, not assuming your diet is perfect because you have some vegan philosophy that wants to believe, like a religion, that the diet's going to be perfect as long as you don't eat animal products, which is not true. You could still be low in zinc, you could still be low in iodine, you could still be low in vitamin D, you could still be low in B12, you could still be low in DHA. This idea that, and so some of these nutrients are better delivered by animal products, such as zinc and DHA, and we want to at least supplement to the level of optimal to give us full protection. Optimal could be to the level of a person who was eating some animal products, but not over supplement to a point which pushes us to a level that, because there's a sweet spot, and we want to be in that sweet spot where most other nutrients, we're getting more nutrients from plant foods.
Yes.
So we're supplementing intelligently and conservatively, not to over supplement with things or take things that could potentially be harmful. And most supplements contain harmful ingredients. So this is a completely different way of looking at the whole picture and doing it with much more knowledge, intelligence, scientific work study as to these processes and reviewing of all the evidence and making a dietary program that can be most effective and protective.
Very good. Very good. Dr. Fuhrman, we have a lot of questions, and I didn't even ask you if you have a hard out that you have to go, if maybe you have 5 minutes or so after the classroom with the teacher's pets. Those who stick around, I'll ask their questions if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So for those of you who are tuning in today, and this is your first time you're hearing Dr. Joel Fuhrman, you're in for a treat. He is my favorite. Once a month he comes on since 2015. So you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com, listen to some of the other classes that he's taught. And today we're giving away his latest book called Eat for Life, New York Times bestseller. We're giving away 3 of them. So please claim your health. Claim that you're taking your health back and text me 407-373-5959. That claim, it's a 2-step process. That claiming it by texting it, that's going to get you in the winner's basket on Monday. I don't even know what day Monday is, the 30th. I don't know, 29th. On Monday, we're going to be picking out 3 names. So make sure if you're listening on podcasts, if you're listening on BitChute, if you're listening on YouTube or Facebook, later on, please text me at 407-373-5959. You got to declare your health. You got to declare your health. So Dr. Fuhrman, we got 2 minutes for the podcast before we go out. And I know that we had this issue with iTunes where for 2 weeks we have not sent it out. So I want to give them an opportunity to listen as well. What do you have to say before we go when it comes to prevention and reversal of cancer, when it comes to the nutritarian lifestyle, before the last words here?
Well, as you know, I think that our whole society has to change in so many ways. And it should be reading, writing, arithmetic, and nutritional science taught in grade schools, because the most important things we have to learn to protect our precious life and our one body we're given is how to eat right. And people don't learn it, or they expect a doctor to teach them after they get lung cancer or breast cancer. We should wait to tell people to quit smoking after they get lung cancer. The whole thing is just insanity. We should be learning it as children. And our parents have to be role models to not smoking and not drinking and not eating candy and fast food and hot dogs and donuts and pizza and bagels and things like that. And so we have to use a radical change, because these things are socially acceptable, but they're just as poisonous and addictive if you were giving your kids whiskey or cigarettes or anything else that causes death or premature death. Yeah. Just one, but the obviously the message here too is that the same diet style prevents cancer. And there, children get cancer, right? Children get cancer. There's the number one cause of death in children. It's called acute blastocytic leukemia. It's still linked to the mother's diet, not just during pregnancy, but what she ate before she even got pregnant affects the health of her child.
Yeah.
And so this has to be done throughout the whole lifestyle to protect the future generations as well. It's not just for people who have cancer. We have to protect the whole lifestyle and protect women when they're young so they don't damage their eggs, so they have unhealthy children after they're born. The foods that cause cancer increase the risk of autism too. And we know that the lack of green vegetables in the mother's diet also affects the chance of the child developing a childhood cancer. So we give women a folate pill so they don't have to, folic acid pill so they don't have to take green vegetables. So it's getting back to the basics for everybody.
It's time to get back to basics and claim your health with Dr. Fuhrman's Eat for Life. And if you want to learn more, go to drfuhrman.com. You can also go to whenyounneedafriend.com to watch and YouTube and Facebook and BitChute, because you will get Dr. Fuhrman everywhere where you find Lillian McDermott radio show. And please remember, claim it, 407-373-5959. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and Dr. Fuhrman wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
And I am loving all of you who are claiming your health. Do you mean it? What are you willing to do? That's the question. It's like I've said this before, Dr. Fuhrman, the great philosopher Meatloaf would sing, I would do anything for, and of course you could fill in the blank. It was love, right? But you can do it for health. You can do it for your marriage. You can do it for your children. You could, whatever it is, what would you be willing to do? Because he says after that, but I won't do that. And so we got to take inventory here. What are we willing to do to achieve the health that we want? So we ask the questions, we know the answers, but then we're not motivated. What do you say somebody that's just not motivated, Dr. Fuhrman? They know what to do, but they just can't make that first step. Just go to your treatment center. Go to Eat to Live.
I can only take a very small number of people. Most people have to study my books and become experts. And most people do. I mean, obviously. Millions of people have read and made changes, and they do it from becoming experts. If you don't learn, if you're not able to learn, to read and to study, or listen to an audiobook if you have to, but if you're not willing to do that, the chance of you changing is very, very slim. Yeah. If you're not going to develop some degree of a high level of expertise to really counter all the noise and all the nonsense you hear from the media or the social network you're a part of that's giving you wrong information, you have to read and study and see what the evidence shows, and be willing to to let evidence affect you and make logic and science be your guide. If you want to just have beliefs and maintain your early life belief systems, then you're going to be headed towards where other people are headed towards. Yeah. And that's to the pretty unhealthy and pretty torturous existence in your later years. If you're going to let these advances in nutritional science teach you something and willing to learn what the evidence is, and then there's the possibility of changing. It doesn't make you sure you're going to change, but at least that gives you the possibility of changing, because those foods are very addicting that you're addicted to, and they take over your primitive brain, and it puts you in a prison like any drug addiction does. So food addiction is serious, and the only thing that works for food addiction is abstinence from your food triggers. So this person needs initiative to learn, and then to take the first step. They have to jump in and do this. Then it takes both repetition and determination, because they have to do it long term. They have to take the initiative to start, they have to learn, they have to study, and then they have to do it whether they like it or not. And even though it's uncomfortable, and it's giving up sugar and oils and fried foods and all of these.
There's so much freedom on the other side, Dr. Fuhrman. If they only knew how they would feel, it wouldn't be difficult.
But they have to go through that period of loss. Yeah. Even when you stop smoking, it's a period of psychological and emotional loss, because you think you can't live without cigarettes. And these people think they can't live without their donuts and pizza. They're dying for it. I had these people come into my retreat And they think that when they leave, they're going right back for the pizza. But once they're here for a few months, they lose those cravings, those desires, and they lose the feeling of loss. And they feel that what they have gained is 100 times more powerful. And they don't want a chance being derailed with those foods that weren't, that affair they've had, that illicit love affair they had with those foods wasn't good for them. They realized it was bad for them. So they have to learn a lot first. They're not going to succeed.
Yeah. And knowing the why, having their why is so important. And
I wrote that back in the book, Eat to Live, in 2004. I said, don't try to do this. Don't start the program. Don't go to the recipe section. Don't be convinced. First, read the entire book and study it and underline with a marker, and then you could start.
While you're eating your ding dongs. It's like, okay. So let me ask some questions. I know that your time is limited. Okay. So Sharon asks, she says, and it's very small print here, had 3 rounds of chemotherapy treatment of Toxol and carboplatin. Dr. Fuhrman, do you know what I'm talking about? Carboplatin. Okay. She had uterine cancer, had to stop chemo because the side effects were severe neuropathy. Next option is radiation treatment. I don't want to do radiation. What other options are available? Oh, what a beautiful question.
But I can't really answer the question for her because I don't know enough about what type of cancer, how big is the mass that's remaining, if there is a mass remaining. Certainly we know anything you do is going to be aided by nutrition, but nutrition often can't attack a large hard cell mass that's accumulated to a certain size. It can attack scattered cells, and those masses usually have to be surgically removed, attack chemotherapy, or with radiation if there have been large lumps of cancer cells, because the body's immune system can't get in there and destroy it all. With some cancers like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, it can get in there and give a person hope without chemo. But with something like this type of cancer, so the answer is I don't know. But one thing we do know is that the nutritional program is absolutely essential, and whether you should do some radiation or not. I really don't know enough about your case. You would have to get a phone consult or find out from a physician more information.
Yes. Okay. So the next question is, if it's stranded on okay, let me see. Oh, okay. So I'm not sure I'm understanding this question. It says, Dear Dr. Fuhrman, if stranded on an inhabited island, do you see someone surviving on wild edible plants? Can that diet cure cancer? I'm not sure if this is something you want to answer, Dr. Fuhrman.
It depends on the island. I don't think Gilligan's Island would work. Looking at the skipper, looking how big the skipper was.
Well, Skipper ate Gilligan. Yeah, that's funny.
He didn't look that healthy on Gilligan's Island, but I always dreamed of going to a desert island with just a knife, not without shoes, of course. With something on my feet, where I could just live in more food in the woods. But there's so much food you can eat. I'm out here in California, and there's so much food right here, just walking in the park, in the nature preserve. There's so much wild food. There's wild artichokes, there's fenugreek, there's wild berries, there's all types of things growing in all parts. There's edible mushrooms, there's all kinds of edible inner parts of the cactuses. So yes, if you know what you're doing, you can get a tremendous amount of food in your natural habitat. Absolutely. I don't know if it's going to cure your cancer, unless you'd have to get enough food available. But in any case, it's certainly great to eat natural foods. Yes. Yes,
absolutely. Okay. So how much time do we have, Dr. Fuhrman? How many questions do we have?
We have 3 more minutes.
3 more minutes. Okay. So let me get another question, and I completely lost my page here. So let me get out of it here. Oh, now that I have a time limitation here, I wanted to copy all the questions on the chat before we moved on, because I want to make sure I put those for next month. Okay, so I'm just going to randomly take one of these. Let me see if I can find a cue. Okay, from Linda. It says, Dr. Fuhrman, your advice against eating rice because of arsenic in fertilizer. Generally speaking, does brown balsamic rice from India, which I believe you said that one time, labeled as being from the Himalayas, generally contain arsenic? I think you said, I thought you said that Indian brown rice from India was good.
No, I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
Because I'm not the person testing the rice. Consumer Reports did the evaluation of all these different rices and found that most of them contained a high level of arsenic. And just because they say it's from the Himalayan mountains, we don't know what it is. It has to be tested. So so I don't do the testing, and I'm not the one to answer that question. So the answer is I don't know. We know rice draws up arsenic more than other grains do, and I would suspect grown in the Himalayan mountains of Tibet, it wouldn't have much arsenic there, but we don't know for sure. It just could be a marketing point, a marketing ploy. If that's where so we don't know if that rice is pure or not. Quinoa is a much cleaner grain. It doesn't draw up arsenic in its
So that would be a good option, is quinoa.
Quinoa or millet or teff or kamut or barley. There's buckwheat. There's a whole bunch of different options, but quinoa is the best option. But of course, I'm sure you can buy rices that are knocked down by native Indians from northern Minnesota marshes that are knocked down in canoes, and they're not commercially grown, that don't have much arsenic either. I'm sure there's some rice you can buy in different parts of the world. Those rices are harder to find and more expensive and not generally available.
Yes, yes. Okay. So one last question. I'm going to hit one last question. I'm a big fan of you both. Yesterday, I had a scare, vitreous hemorrhage. Did I say that right? Vitreous hemorrhage? Okay, of the left eye. I am younger than the average age for it. If I am plant-based as a nutritarian, if there are specific foods or combinations that she can eat to help this scary and uncomfortable issue?
Well, what she could do to speed the resolution is to drink the vegetable juices.
Ooh.
Because they protect the back of the eye. So what I'm saying is not the nutrients in these foods, the carotenoids so protect the eye very much. So yes, this entire program gives you tremendous protection against eye disease and of course, weakening the blood vessels in the back of the eye. It's all going to, actually there was a, Shea Eye Institute and Wills Eye Institute in Philadelphia. We're putting together a study with the NIH, a proposal with the NIH to study the nutritarian diet with eye disease, because they've noticed so many people with diabetic retinopathy and macular degeneration were improving with this program. So tremendous benefit. Yeah, so just add the juices and do the program.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad I asked that question. I just looked at the first cue I saw. So Dr. Fuhrman, you are just absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know how busy you are, even though you're in California now and just enjoying life over there. It's so nice to see your face and the relaxed Dr. Fuhrman. I just love how you are enjoying life to the fullest. And for those of you who are wanting to claim your health back, if you can't text 407-373-5959, chances are it's not going to happen. Dr. Fuhrman, thank you so much for being a part of the classroom. And all of you who are watching today, thank you for watching today. And remember, tomorrow, so that you know, tomorrow we're going to have Christiane Northrup, Dr. Christiane Northrup. We're going to talk about women's body and women's wisdom, and we're going to learn a little bit more. And for the person who was talking about cancer and not wanting to do the chemotherapy, I can't remember your name off the top of your head. I want you to look into Dr. Lorraine Day's story. Dr. Lorraine Day. If you want to text me, I can send you her. She's at drday.com. We're doing a Bible study together. It's a 12-week program. And she was able to heal her body of cancer. And it took her a while. But she did it without chemotherapy, without radiation, and any of that. So there is hope. That's all we have is hope. But you can't just hope alone. You've got to do the work. And that's where we all come in. Do the work. And so we'll say goodbye, and hopefully you will join us tomorrow. We have a new time, is 11:30, because that's when Dr. Northrup could do it, and we're going to bend over backwards for her. I hope you will join us on YouTube and Facebook and podcasts and tell your friends and share, like, and follow. So we will see you soon, okay? Help us grow